Thanks for joining us for another episode of Leadership Roundtable. And I've mixed things up for the Memorial Day edition of the show. And I have TJ Beaudette with me. TJ is a Marine captain and has served his time, and he has moved on to the civilian sector. TJ is an entrepreneur. We met through a mutual connection, Trevor Martin, and TJ's message is super positive, but it's very real. And we're going to share TJ's story here as we talk through the Memorial Day edition of this show, as well as Military Appreciation Month and Mental Health Awareness Month. So, TJ, if you would just take as much time as you want, tell people who you are and what do you do.
Absolutely, John. And thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you again. It's been great to get to know you. I'm TJ. I was born and raised in New York. 9/11 hit pretty close to home. And it was at that time that I knew I was going to join the military. Fast forward 10 years after graduating high school and then college, joined the Marines. I served for 8 years, did 3 deployments. The first one was to Afghanistan. The second one was on a MEU, which is a Marine Expeditionary Unit on a naval vessel. And the third one was to Japan. After 8 years of service, I transitioned to the corporate world where I was in medical device sales for 4 years, got an MBA. And it was really the past 2 years or so, which led me kind of to taking a different path, one focused on personal growth, turning the spotlight within, seeking answers, trying to make sense of my emotions, what I've been through, my feelings. And that led me to where I'm at right now, which is the journey of solopreneurship, starting my own business as a presence coach.
Awesome. So, what can you tell us? What is a presence coach?
So a presence coach is, I am very comfortable exploring my own shadow and looking at my own fears. I see life as a journey of overcoming our own fears, that which can keep us in a box. And sometimes that box isn't actually serving us. So to step outside that box, whether it be to go for a promotion or whether you're dealing with mental health struggles and you need to look at things a different way, it takes courage. So I walk with people as they explore their own shadow, identify their own fears, and step outside that box to see what's on the other side for them, to step into a life of more fulfillment.
Okay. That's really deep, and obviously, as you know, that's part of the reason why I wanted to just have this leadership roundtable with just you and I. Obviously, the rest of the world is watching, but I think there's a reason that we need a heavy focus on what you do. And so I usually do this at the end, but TJ, if someone's watching this right now and they need someone to talk to, how do they get a hold of you?
Holy Human on Instagram, that's WHOLLY.human, or TJ Beaudette on LinkedIn.
Okay. Thank you for that. So I told you before we started recording that I hung the flag just for you for this show for the Memorial Day edition. And I wanted to talk, real briefly about Memorial Day. And I say briefly about Memorial Day because there's so much that we have to talk about today. TJ, I know you get this. Every veteran that I know gets this, and I, I wish I could get $1 to donate to my favorite charity, which um, we'll talk about my favorite charity at the end. It's also on my website. It's the Gary Sinise Foundation. Um, and so, if I had $1 for every person that's going to thank me for my service this weekend, um, I'm quite confident I can make a healthy donation to the Gary Sinise Foundation. And what I would like to say, and I do actually say this on my website, don't thank a veteran. Donate to the Gary Sinise Foundation. Donate to a charitable organization that helps veterans, helps them deal with some of the after effects of service. So a lot of people don't know this, and I don't know. I jotted down a couple fun facts, TJ. Um, I don't know if you know this, but from 1868 to 1970, Memorial Day was observed on May 30th. It wasn't until it was changed to be the last Monday of May in 1971. Um, but and a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with this, but many non-veterans view Memorial Day as the official start of summer. And my favorite meme is the one that floats around with the grill, and just at the bottom it says, "Remember who made that possible." Uh, and so anyway, just a couple weird fun facts that I found. And every Memorial Day for me, I try to do some type of education to folks so that they understand that Memorial Day is intended to celebrate the memory of those folks who died while serving, who died for their country, who died for the freedoms that we have. Um, and I use the words celebrate the memory on purpose. And I know some people get offended when I say that, but I don't want people to mourn me when I leave. I want people to celebrate what I brought to this world. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I don't think that there's a lot of folks who would disagree with me on that. Um, and we all have folks that we served with that didn't see their ETS date. And so I say that with all due respect to say I want to celebrate everyone's life when they're gone, and I want to celebrate what they contributed to the world. Um, so anyway, with that being said, you know, TJ, I know I've started to see the posts popping up all over social media with people, veterans mostly saying, please don't thank me for my service this weekend. Um, before I move on, did you have any thoughts or anything you want to share on that?
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I'm with you. I think it can be very confusing too to be thanked for your service, right? And I know it's well intentioned. People mean well. Sometimes it feels automatic, like it's just like this automatic thing that gets said. But for that veteran, it may like strike deep. Even that simple statement may strike deep because I think it can be deeply confusing to train for and to go to war. I think killing is very unnatural. War is brutal. A lot of veterans, like you said, know members that didn't reach their ETS date because they died in combat or they died in training. And to be thanked for that, especially as we're all healing, veterans and non-veterans, I mean, I think we're all healing in some way, shape, or form. If we haven't fully processed those emotions, to be thanked, it can be deeply confusing.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been a hard transition for me personally. I never know how to react to that because there are so many who gave so much more. Um, and I've shared this story before. I got stuck at Fort Riley, Kansas for 3 years. I tried everything I could to get out, to get deployed. I know you've shared part of that in your story, and we're going to talk in detail about that later. Um, so um, May is also Mental Health Awareness Month, in addition to being Military Appreciation Month. And as we started to put this call together, there are two other folks sitting out tonight because I asked, can we just reschedule you to a later date? And I share with you, TJ, that and everyone who follows me and who listens to my videos or reads my writing knows I go with my gut, and I believe that I'm being led down a path for a very specific reason. And so when I reached out to you earlier to say, hey, would you be okay going solo with me and talking about your journey? I did it because I think people need to hear your journey. And I think that there is someone who's going to hear your journey and they're going to change their path today. And they're going to know that recovery is possible, a better life is possible. And TJ, I want to say before I shut up and let you tell your story, um, I want to say I think it's so remarkable that you have found the strength to give back to others. And I know, because I know you well enough already, that that is where your strength comes from. And so and I know by the end of this video everyone else will understand that as well. So the third question that I have written down for you, the first two, who are you? Second one, what do you do? Third question is, why do you do it, TJ?
I do it because I want to do it, because I choose to be here. And in choosing to be here, I am finding that which fulfills me. I used to search for this idea of happiness. Not anymore. Now I choose to be here and I'm seeking fulfillment every day. With that comes more profound happiness and also more profound pain at times. It's just the full range of emotions. It's accepting all of it. Um, and I find deep fulfillment and genuine connection with other people.
Okay. So, the you and I have talked, and I know you've shared in other interviews your story of your journey and the pain that you struggled with. Um, are you comfortable going into that and telling that story tonight?
Absolutely.
Okay.
From square one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the best way to do it.
Okay.
And TJ, only go as far as you want to go.
Okay. No, absolutely. Yeah. So, I joined the Marines thinking that I was very angry. I was very angry after 9/11. And I've since understood that that anger stems from childhood, from things that I wasn't able to process at the time. But coming up through my teenage years, I was drinking a lot, playing a lot of sports, like doing what most teenagers do, at least around me. And I just had this anger. I wanted to go to war. I wanted to go kill the people responsible for 9/11. And deep down, I also think that I wasn't afraid to die in combat. And that was coming from an egoic place. That was, if I die in combat, I'll be remembered. I'll die a hero. What better way to go out? And then perhaps I also realized that I wouldn't have to deal with the rest of these underlying emotions that I didn't know how to handle. On top of all of that, it's a very prestigious thing to join the military and go serve the country. So it was like win, win, win. Like that's what I knew that I was going to do. And I had this idea that if I came back from Afghanistan, I would have this ultimate happiness. This I would achieve something that would fill me up for the rest of my life. And so I went to Afghanistan. I I was an officer, and I found myself as an XO. So essentially, I had a desk job, and we were in a quiet AO area of operations anyway. So I got back from that deployment, and I felt just as empty as before I went. And I was like, okay. So I volunteered to deploy again 4 months later, and I was on that was the naval vessel deployment. Deployed, we didn't go to combat. I came back. Then I was still striving externally. I still thought the answers for me were out there, something I needed to accomplish to prove myself to myself or to others. I tried going the MARSOC route, special operations, made it through the first part of the pipeline, failed the second part of the pipeline. So that was a big hit to the ego. And then I had one more opportunity to be a company commander. That was around the time, though, that I knew that I was transitioning out. That whatever I was looking for, I didn't think I was going to find in the Marines. Still didn't know what that was, though. So I deployed a third and final time and got back from that deployment. And my transition out of the military was pretty seamless. I interviewed with a medical device company and I landed a job in sales with great company, great team, and I doubled my salary coming out of the military. So I was like, okay, I think this is what I've been looking for. I served 8 years. Now it's time to follow the American dream and find happiness there. A year after working there, I applied to an MBA program, got in, and, I was still like, I saw the next 25, 30 years ahead of me, yet something was still feeling off. And it was like the more that I achieved, the more that I realized that what I was looking for was not in the achievement itself. So that underlying anxiety was actually getting worse. So as I was struggling to find that deeper happiness on a new path, the fall of Afghanistan was all over the news. So I'm working 8 hours a day, studying 3 hours a night, getting my ass kicked. And I see what was once my life's purpose crumbling in front of my eyes. And I was just lost, confused, angry, exhausted. And I hit the lowest of lows that I've experienced. I was drunk one night, had my loaded AR-15 pointed in the wrong direction, like safety off, like finger on the trigger, just waiting there. Like, what's the point of this? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? And that was when I had to be honest with myself. Like there was no more lying to myself. I am now that veteran that's in that position. Even though I wasn't talking about it with anyone, like I knew where I was, and it scared the shit out of me. So I started to be honest with myself. And what I thought I needed was someone in a position of power to start telling the truth. Like I thought I needed someone to say out loud, like, hey, the last 20 years of war, like it wasn't what we thought it was going to be when we went into it. Like call a loss at some point. However, as I went through this journey of self-growth, I realized I didn't need anyone else to tell me anything. I needed to find the answers within myself. So over the next couple of months, I mean, I was going through a divorce. Like a lot of the things, like that's on me. I was stuck in my own patterns. So I found myself alone in my house I was alone for the first time in 8 years. 3 months prior to that, I was in the darkest place of my life. And I was just like, okay, like I could go in one of two directions. I can go back to TJ in his early 20s, like partying and drinking, or I could go in a different direction. I didn't know what that direction was though, but I just started running longer and longer distances. And then I found a therapist that I connected with. So I started to um, like, I started to realize that no matter what happened, no matter how difficult things got, like I had this foundation of running. I had a therapist that I was able to share ideas with, be very vulnerable with, and I started to feel better. And then I started to do solo camping trips and get deeper into meditation. I started running ultra marathons, went back out into nature, experienced psychedelics, and through that entire journey of growth, what I was looking for the entire time became more and more evident. And it's within us, all of us. The answers that we're seeking are not out there. There's nothing that we have to prove to anyone. We just have to start looking within. And I can go deeper within that too, if you want me to, like how to look within.
I do want to get to that. One thing I want to point out, because here's what's unique about your story, TJ, is you you don't have the typical PTSD story where you went off to war, you saw horrible things, bombs were blowing up around you, people were shooting at you. And that's important, I think, because there's a lot of people out there who are going to say, well, I didn't experience this, so how dare I say that?
Yes.
And um, mental health is unique to every single person.
Yes.
And, we all have our fears, we all have our shortcomings, we all have, our own anxieties. And it's not my job to judge yours. It's not your job to judge mine. And more importantly, it is not my human right to put any type of feelings on you about how you should feel. And that's, to me, what I love about your journey is that you're telling a normal story that a million people out there today are dealing with, maybe more. I don't know. I'm not a statistician. um, so I do want you to go dive a little bit deeper into the self, because that's where I think, if the folks who are watching this right now, that's what they need to hear. They need to hear, how do they climb out of this hole that they're feeling like they're in? Because right now there's people watching this video, listening to me talk, who are saying, shut up, dude, let him talk, because I need to climb out of my own hole.
That's such a good point you bring up, though. And we are really bad at this as veterans, as military members. We are so quick to look at someone else's ribbon stack, how many deployments they've been on, their rank, and immediately diminish our own feelings. It's like, oh, that guy has a combat action ribbon with 2 stars and a purple heart. There's no way I'm able to feel my emotions. It's like, no, we all have our own emotions, veteran or non-veteran. We all have our own trauma and our own healing journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So, TJ, can you talk about your shadow?
Yes. It's very important to meet our emotions and our thoughts where they are. And I think for veterans in particular, those thoughts can be very dark. Those emotions can be very scary. And what I'm learning in conversations with more and more veterans is that it's not just what they experience in the military. A lot of times it stems back to childhood. So for me, like the first memory of my life, and I love my mom, my dad passed away, love him too. This is not a knock on them. The first memory of my life is my parents were divorced and they were screaming at each other, and I was hiding in a closet because I was afraid. So it's things like that that stick deep in our subconscious that we don't even think about, but they influence the patterns and how we see the world in front of us. So meeting our emotions and our thoughts where they're at. My combat deployment wasn't kinetic. However, training for war, knowing there were 7 Marines from my battalion that were killed just in training for war, the videos I used to watch in preparation, because I was like, oh, I'm an infantry officer. I need to be prepared for the blood, the gore. So I would watch like really harsh videos, like how ISIS used to kill their prisoners in very brutal ways. So in order to heal from a lot of that stuff, I can't run from those thoughts. I need to accept those thoughts. And to accept those thoughts, I utilize different tools that allow me to look right at them and still see the love in those scenes. Do you want me to go further into this, or is that like, because it,
No, that you know that that it's a powerful image, and I don't know that many people have been exposed to that,
yeah,
and it's I quite frankly, TJ, I think that some people who don't understand are going to hear what you just said and they're not going to get it. So I think, I think you do have to go a little bit deeper there if you're comfortable.
yes, yes. So as I connected more deeply with myself, I began to understand that, you know, I grew up as a Christian. I have a lot of faith in Jesus, and I think it's okay if others don't. So when he says over and over again, have no fear, do not fear. What if he really means that there's nothing to fear? Like how do we see that truth? And the way that I'm understanding this is there's the manifested. It's all things from the Big Bang expanding out into the universe. All things material and spiritual are manifested. The space that was here before the Big Bang, the unmanifested, that space is love. That's what allows for creation. And there will always be polarity, darkness and light, good and evil. What I'm understanding is that the capacity for all of it is in each one of us. I have the same capacity for evil as the 2 Taliban that I helped call an airstrike on and watch them take their last steps as they try to run away from the hellfire. Like, I was born in America. I joined the military because my best friend's dad was a firefighter who died in 9/11, and I was upset. If I was born in Afghanistan or Iraq and I had family members killed by an American bomb, would I have picked up a gun? Probably. Like, these are questions that I really had to ask and look
Mhm.
in the mirror to start to like really go deeply into this. So that's true. The unmanifested, we're in this space right now. It is all love. It allows for creation. So accepting that darkness and light, good and evil, the capacity for all of it exists within me, yet it all exists in a canvas of love. So as I look at the brutal scenes of how, in so many ways in our world, evil is currently manifested, because I think we have yet to really internalize how much is inside of us and how we reflect back out to the world. So as I see images of how ISIS killed their prisoners, one in particular, like it's really deeply ingrained in my brain because I think a fear of drowning is a fear of mine. And they would put their prisoners in cages and lower it down into a crane in the water. And they had like GoPros filming, and then they would lift it up. Really brutal. deeply ingrained in my brain. So I do things like breath work. I will do intense breath work, and then I will hold my breath, and I'll hold my breath for like 2, 3, up to 4 minutes and just stay peaceful and calm and be out of my thoughts, be in my body. Yet when the thoughts come flashing through, like that particular brutal scene, I accept it. And it's like, okay, let's go there. And as I'm holding my breath, I envision myself being in that cage with people clawing and punching and like the brutality in that moment. And it's just staying calm. It's staying calm. And I've been alive 33 years. So if I was actually in that cage, be remarkably uncomfortable for a very short amount of time. Yet then it would be a return to oneness, which is what death is. It's a return to one that already is. And in the grand scheme, our spirits are eternal. So it's just returning to that which already is perfect. So it's okay. So it's okay.
That's pretty deep, TJ. Thank you for walking through that. Um, I think that that's a hard concept for a lot of people, and it's, there's also, you've talked about so much that just hits with me. So I had a conversation with Brian Sangre. I
Oh,
think,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and like he said something that as soon as he said it, it like cascaded all these things out of my brain. And you touched on it as well. You talked about, there's all these experiences that we go through in life that imprint on you, and those imprints cause you to make a different decision down the road. The easiest and most ignorant version of that to describe that people understand is prejudice. And of any shape or size, any color, whatever you want to call it, it's having any type of preconceived opinion about what something's going to be and judging it that way.
Yes.
Um, but when you talk about just the kind of it's going to be okay, um, I surprise people when I tell them I don't fear death. I could go home tomorrow and I'd be okay with it. I feel like I've lived a great life and I live every day as if today is my last. I'm on good terms. I've said what I need to say to all the people in my life. I leave nothing unturned. I sometimes take some criticism because I leave nothing unturned, and I have those aggressively awkward conversations. Um, but I may not get tomorrow. And I love what you say when because that those are horrible things to see the pain that those people had to go through, um, just for being who they were or where they were. And and you're right. It's a deeply installed hatred for anything American, if you were born in certain parts of the world. Um, and so it's a deep subject that you talk about, and getting to that point where you can do those exercises to say it is going to be okay, no matter how dark it looks right now, it's going to be okay. And I agree with you, of course, about the eternity thing. And I know there's a whole bunch of different opinions about how it all works. I guess I'll find out someday. Um, but yeah, TJ, the great thing is, seeing your smile, and the fact that, you're 33 years old, but you still look 12. Um, I think that's evidence that you have legitimately dealt with these things and you've dealt with them in a healthy way. Because I certainly looked a lot older than you when I was 33 years old. And I don't think I dealt with a lot of these things. I don't think my mind was open to a lot of these ideas when I was 33. And then, when Brian and I were talking and he told the story about his dad and how his dad was raised. And so then, when his dad finally came into a spot where he was making some money, he lived an extravagant lifestyle. And what it hit me because my wife is constantly telling me that she won't let me go do the shopping because she'll send me to the store for a bag of hot dog buns, and I'll come home with hot dog buns, bread, hamburger buns, every kind of meat out of I'm like, well, I just thought you might be hungry. And I totally overdo it every time. And, and I think it does go back to, when you're raised in, really, I'll just leave it at the imprinting. It doesn't matter whether it's overdoing it, underdoing it. The imprints that we have on us cause some of these issues. We have an entire month dedicated to mental health because it's a problem.
Mhm.
And, it's not going to go away just because you and I talk about it. But what I hope does happen is that because we've talked about it, someone has the courage to talk about it. And hopefully they can talk to somebody who is a safe zone for them, that helps them learn the lessons that you've learned, where they can come out of it. And so I think a lot of people will want to know um, about some of the improvements in your life since you've been able to come to grips with some of your pain, and you deal with your healing in a healthy way. So I want to transition into that and talk about what's TJ's life look like now, because based on the pictures I've seen, it's pretty darn good. Um, and where are you going to be in the future? What's tomorrow look like?
John, I allow myself to feel my emotions. And the decision to look at my own fear, it's a daily decision. It's not just like one and done. Like there are still times that it comes. And instead of running from it like I used to with alcohol or porn or processed foods or binging Netflix, whatever I was doing, that was so unconscious because I didn't even know it was like I was burying it, but like it was. Um, it's just allowing myself to feel and acknowledging the times when it's like, this doesn't feel good. Yet it's here to teach me something, to show me something, to show me somewhere where I'm still resistant to something. And I continue and I stay in my routines. Actually, I rely more heavily on the tools which I know keep me centered and grounded: cold plunging, breath work, journaling, running, conversations. Um, so I lean into that even more to strengthen the foundation. And so the difficult times come, but the joy comes too. And the joy is so much more profound than it used to be because I feel all of it. And it's really just accepting the full range of human emotions, continuing to heal. And that's where that's where this increase in awareness comes from, is learning from my emotions, feeling my emotions, yet not being engulfed in my thoughts or running from them. So hopefully that was a clear enough answer there.
Yes, and it was probably a clearer answer than the question, because you answered a question that I should have asked. Because that's it. That's a really powerful point. Is your mental health is an ongoing issue. I mean,
Yes.
every day that you're alive, you have to deal with these emotions and these feelings. So thank you for that. So what does a day in the life of TJ look like right now?
So right now, wake up. I try to get my creativity flowing, stay away from my phone in the morning, write, run. So I actually, when I was really like coming through and starting to share vulnerably, I was so disciplined with my morning routine. And it was like, if I don't do this, then this, then this, then this, then like I failed. And I've since learned like, okay, you don't have to be so harsh on yourself. Use your tools when you know that you need them. So there's some mornings where I'll wake up and go for a run. There's other mornings where I'll wake up and just go get breakfast. Other mornings where I'll wake up and go right to the ocean and go get a cold plunge in. Kind of just depends, but it's trusting myself that I'll know when to use the tools that I know work for me.
Yeah, that's great. That is so powerful, because those folks who think that they have to live the life of Jocko, or the other shock jocks who scream into the microphone those motivational quotes, and it's not real. Not everyone lives their life that way, and it's okay. It's okay to not live your life that way. I would like to point out that you shifted on a leather chair because it sounded like you did something else there.
I did not fart, although I have before, so you know,
No big deal.
no big
Um,
deal.
yeah, yeah, we've all done it. Um, so I do think that that's a powerful point to be made. And what's the next 5 years look like for you, TJ?
Staying as grounded and present as possible. So I envision this starting with one-on-one coaching, which is what I'm doing now, and then group coaching, and then retreats in nature, and potential. I love writing, so maybe one day write a book, perhaps podcast. I love just communicating, and I would love to be in your seat where I'm bringing guests on and the one asking the questions and diving in. You know, so if I ever have a podcast, I'd love to have you on, John.
I would do it in a heartbeat.
That would be outstanding. Yeah, so that's it. And I'm just as I feel resistance, you know, it's like being an entrepreneur. It's kind of you're navigating the unknown, and it's just like you're feeling your way around. Sometimes you have a misstep. It's like, oh, it didn't feel good. It's like, okay, hold here. So it's like making decisions on how am I going to market this? How much am I going to charge? What does my program look like? Who am I serving? So navigating in full faith that this is what I'm meant to be doing, and no matter what happens, approaching each day with optimism, hope, and joy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really, really uplifting. And I hope to be able to watch that journey and celebrate your successes with you. So, how are you spending the weekend?
Going camping.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Shouldn't be surprised by that. Um, I have blocked the weekend. I usually, you're aware, I usually do videos all weekend long, stocking up so that I've got content. But I have blocked the weekend to spend some time with the wife and kids,
Outstanding.
um, which for me, that is my refresh. That's my recharge. They're the reason that I do everything. Um, I know a lot of people are going to be heading out. Pools are opening for the season. I live in Michigan, so if you're trying to head north on I-75, it ain't happening. Everybody's heading north, so we'll be sticking it close to home. So I want to just ask a couple things if anybody's still watching the video. As whatever it is you do this weekend, just take a minute, stop and think that there are people who sacrificed everything so that you can. I have a huge following overseas. I highly doubt many of them will watch this video. I do get a lot of feedback whenever I post about American pride. And I think the American flag doesn't mean the same thing to folks overseas that it means to me. And to me, it's a symbol of everything great that we can be, and that we're going to work every day to be better today than we were yesterday. So, to my American audience, I hope that you do take that time to step back and really celebrate the memory of the folks who came before us and who sacrificed so that we could be here today and live in my opinion, the greatest country on the planet with all the freedoms that we enjoy. If you find yourself in a spot where you're hurting right now, TJ is a great source to reach out to, but there are many resources for you. I don't care who you reach out to, but please reach out to somebody because, um, TJ mentioned earlier that he's a Christian and he doesn't care if you're not. I agree with TJ. He knows that I accept anybody for who they are as long as you're a good human. If you're not a good human, I don't have room for you at my table. But I will challenge you to look out the window, go outside, look around, enjoy some of the outdoors that TJ is talking about. And regardless of how you think all that got there, just enjoy it. Just take a deep breath, hopefully of fresh air. If you live on the West Coast, I get it. That's not a thing you guys have out there. Um, but just really enjoy all of the beauty that exists in this world. And just remember that no matter how dark your day does feel, it is just a feeling and you can rise above that. It is possible. Take some of TJ's advice. Take that breath. Take that walk. The deep plunge sounds cold. Yeah, but it works for some people. I see it's becoming like a thing on social media. People are posting. I think I was watching Mark Wahlberg do some plunges in ice water. I prefer a nice hot shower myself, but and TJ, I'll tell you, some people laugh at me. I've been asked to go camping too many times. One time is too many times for me. And I'm going to tell you why. That time I told you about when I got stuck at Fort Riley,
Yeah.
we spent 10 months of every year sleeping on the ground. And so
Outside?
what's that?
Outside?
Yeah, yeah, outside
Mm.
in the field. Yeah.
Yep.
And I was stationed with the 1st Engineer Battalion. It's combat engineers. They like to blow things up. And that's where you have to blow things up is out in the field. And so, yeah, we spent a lot of time in the field with the 1st Infantry Division. And I have decided that the only camping I will do will be at a Hilton. And that is for the rest of my life. I slept in a tent one time after getting out of the Army, and it was at a thing called Country Stampede in Manhattan, Kansas. We'll never do it again. I was reminded very quickly that I don't like this. I like a nice hot shower. I like to be able to wash my hands and microwave my food. But nothing against it. I know you love it. I know a lot of people who love it, and I'm all for other people going camping. Um, I hope that everybody does have a safe holiday weekend and remember why we're celebrating it. Um, uh, I will share the links to TJ's LinkedIn page, to his website in the comment section of this video, and they'll be in shared with this video everywhere. You'll find it on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Um, and I also share on Substack now. If you haven't heard of Substack, check out my LinkedIn page. It's really cool. It's a slick service. If you want to see my content every day in your email box, go subscribe to my Substack. You do not have to pay for Substack, just so everybody knows. They will ask you to pay because they take a majority of that money. And but you do not have to. You can select a free subscription, and I'm totally okay with that because I share it for free anyway on every other social media platform. TJ, I know we've talked about this before. I am in the process of writing a book. I'm talking to 2 different publishers right now. I've got some things I need to finish up on the book. There's some, um, I'm going to describe it as your emptiness. There's a few
Mhm.
chapters that have to be written, and I'm deciding how I'm going to write them. I have started them. Um, so if Justin Pickens is watching, Justin, I have started the chapter like I told you I did. But I'm still fleshing it out in how it's going to go. But there's no ETA on when that book is going to come out. There's some people that I want to read what I've written first. A lot of truths that I have to face. Nothing I've ever denied, hidden from, lied about. But there's some people who need to hear it from me before they read it in a book or before they hear it from somebody else. Um, and some people that are going to be hurt by some of the things I'm going to write about. But I'm doing a pretty good job of keeping it pretty generic so that nobody is called out by name, nobody is minimalized to the point where like they know it's this person in my life. It's in a very generic way. So I'm actually I'm pretty proud of how it's coming together.
I commend your courage for writing those chapters.
Yeah, thank you. It's and the we all know Trevor Martin and Trevor Martin and Samantha Sierra. We did this project together a few months back, and what I took away from that was 2 really powerful people, two very optimistic people who have had difficult things happen to them, but they've decided that yesterday doesn't define them. And that was
Hmm.
really a pivotal moving point for me because I was so tied up in what happened to me yesterday has to define tomorrow. And it doesn't. It makes me who I am today. It gives me the empathy that I have today for other people going through the same struggle. But I don't ever have to talk about yesterday again. And that was a powerful point for me, and that's why I think that's what's helping me write this chapter from this perspective.
That's amazing. Trevor and Samantha are two of my favorite people,
Yes, same here.
and not surprising that their inspiration is rippling outwards and impacting the rest of us.
Yeah, yeah, and I just hope they keep doing what they're doing. I don't think they realize the impact that they're making on people. I hope they do, but I don't I think that they're going to look back at some point in the future and realize that this chunk of time that they spent creating content and putting their message out to the world made a difference to a lot of people.
Can I tell a very quick story about Trevor?
Please do.
So about 2 months ago, like maybe a month after Trevor and I connected, and we hopped on a call, and it was a great call. Like it was a deep conversation. We connected. A couple weeks later, I was moving through some fear. Like I was having one of those days. I was like, oh shit, like like very vulnerable on a post. And then I just sent him a message. I was like, hey man, like this is kind of how I'm feeling. How are you doing? And he's like, you got a quick minute? And he jumped on a call with me 10 minutes later, even though he only had like 5 minutes between calls. It was just like to look each other in the eye and say hello, say what's up, connect. And so that's something about Trevor Martin that I know who he is, and he's that guy.
Yeah, yeah. I've had that exact experience with him. It's just who he is. He's just a wonderful human, and the world's better because of people like Trevor Martin. So awesome, TJ. Thank you so much. We're coming up here on the top of the hour, so I want to be able to wrap this up on time to get you back to your life. Now, where are you right now?
Long Island, New York.
Okay, I've seen the pictures of the beach.
Yeah.
So is that a sand beach or is it a pebble beach?
Sand Beach, right a block away from my apartment.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've been to the beach one time, but I think it was on the Connecticut side. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so nice.
I'm
Uh,
going camping in Montauk on the beach this weekend. You want to come? We're staying in tents.
as long as that tent has a big H on the front of it and air conditioning and heat and a hot shower, I'm all game. Yeah, anyway, I have really enjoyed this conversation and I enjoyed it spiritually because you sharing your journey it's important to people, TJ, and I'm glad you did it. And I know that there's somebody watching this right now who's glad you did it. So thank you.
Thank you, John. Thanks for the opportunity and for your friendship.